Hey guys, continuing Iamblichus' Exhortation to Philosophy text, chapter 14. In this chapter, Iamblichus says, we will look on the lives of top philosophers as given to us by Pythagoras to see what a top philosopher is like compared to a normal person and see if that will inspire us to philosophy. And he begins by talking about Coryphean philosophers as they're described by Pythagoras. He says, these philosophers, since their childhood, they did not have any visits to courts, councils, chambers, or legal places, or anything as such. And I understand that by that he means they did not absorb any of those ideas. And they did not have that experience. What they did have is they constantly developed discursive reasoning. And through this, they were able to perceive the higher worlds and understand things related to higher worlds. And later on in the chapter, he gives examples of what kinds of those things are. And he talks more about a philosopher versus an ordinary person. Because their priority was constantly on rising higher and higher to understand and contemplate the higher realities, they became ignorant of this reality, and specifically of the minutiae and social aspects of it that our people are normally obsessed about. For example, who does what in their city, from which family caste who comes, whose ancestors are who, and so forth. All the stuff that is related to gossip and other people. They were ignorant, they could not care less about it. And we understand why now, because those things are compared to contemplations of reality, of higher truths. Those things are shameful waste of energy and time. This is how I understand this. If you can spend your time contemplating causality of all things, why waste it on something as pointless as gossip and discussion of other people? And we see, he also says, that in terms of their body, they only kept their body active for the extent of necessity, that it was necessary in the social sphere. So we're starting to come, remember before in each chapter we talked about different parts of how to aspire to philosophy. Now we're starting to put it together and see what the philosophers did. And this is how they lived. And my assumption is these people were incredibly peaceful and happy because of the contemplations and realizations that they were having. And in psychology, we know the recent modern psychological research has proven that the more a person gossips, the more insecure they feel about themselves. And for example, gossip magazines, they've done a bit of research with that. The more a person reads those magazines, the more they feel insecure themselves. And they kind of undermine their own happiness and peace. And psychologically, we can see how that is happening and why it is happening like that. So here we see so long ago, philosophers were cutting out these habits that the modern person typically has, substituting them for divine habits. This is it. Let us now do a mini meditation. In the next video, I'll talk about the example of a philosopher called Thales that Iamblichus gives. But now let's do a meditation. Any meditation you want to do, just for a couple of minutes. Let's begin now. Thank you for your time, guys. A video will now appear. Please click on it to continue watching this channel if you want.